Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Megan. I do sewing, embroidery, and other crafty things. And today's video is part 1 of 3 of a sew along for this adorable dress. This is a tiered dress. I made this on my latest live. So this is what we will be starting to make today. So this video specifically, we are going to be cutting out the fabric. Second part, we'll be working on the top bodice here, so from here up, and then the third video will be making this dress part. So yeah, like I said, this part I will be going over the materials, how to cut out your fabric. It can be kind of confusing, so I thought I would do the first part showing you guys how to cut it out, especially since there's different grain lines. And then I'm also going to share some information with you about this pattern as well. I did get permission from the designer, and you know, they were very lovely and very happy that I was doing this. So if you're watching this, thank you very much. And I'm also including a link in the description to where you can get this pattern. I mostly get my patterns on Etsy, so this is where I got this dress. Very cute, very high quality. So stay tuned to learn how to cut the fabric, and yeah, enjoy the video. Alright, so let's go over the fabrics that I'm using and what I recommend that you use to kind of keep track. I recommend you print out the instructions. You can also pull them up on your computer, but I'm kind of like more of a physical sort of person. I like to see it in my hands and, you know, kind of go back and forth with the pages. So I definitely recommend that you print them all out. Of course, you will also need to cut out your pattern pieces based on your size. And one thing that's great is that each of the sizes are color coded. So if you have a printer with colored ink, you'll be able to tell which sizes you need. By the way, this dress, you can get it from size 1 year all the way to 14 years. So it's really great, really diverse. This dress that I'm going to do for the sleeves, I'm going to be doing long sleeves. So I am doing the 2 years size, so the second smallest size. Works great, especially for the mannequin that you just saw. That mannequin is a 2 to 3 year size. It fits it like a glove, it fits it perfect. So yeah, so like I said, you can either do long sleeves or short sleeves, but as you can tell, since it's kind of Halloween themed, my fabric, I'm going to be doing the long sleeved version. But I'm also going to leave the option for my customers to choose short sleeve because, you know, it's kind of the same process. So yes, definitely print out all of your pattern pieces, cut them out. You will have to tape them together as well. So let us go over the pattern pieces itself and then what additionally you will have to cut out. And then we can also kind of go more into the pattern. It's the physical pattern and kind of what all the pages are. So first you will need your sleeves. So I'm doing long sleeves, so I cut out this pattern piece, and I'll let you know as well kind of what all the different terms mean. So you need the long sleeve piece, you need a piece for the back bodice, a piece for the front bodice, and then it has the upper arm elastic length guide, or you can choose the wrist elastic length guide. So the upper arm one, the longer one, is actually for the short sleeved, and the smaller one is for the long sleeve. So I will be using the long sleeved version. Next, you will need, you can also add ruffles to it. So that dress that I showed you in the beginning actually does have ruffles. So I will be using these ruffle pieces. So you need again, optional. Optional is the back bodice ruffle and the front bodice ruffle. And lastly, in regards to pattern pieces, you will need the strap pattern piece. So let us go over the contents. I won't show you a close-up of this pattern because I don't want to give anything away. But essentially the second page is a table of contents to kind of help you kind of be more organized and figure out exactly what step it is where. So the second page is pattern information, including how much fabric you will need for each part. So it'll tell you how much fabric you need for the bodice, how much for the sleeves, the dress tiered skirt, and the dress simple skirt. Now I want to note that my sample that I've made is a dress tiered skirt irregular. So it is just a regular dress with tiered, which you do not have to do the tiered version if you don't want to. You can just do it irregular. And then you can also have the dress be a little bit shorter as well, which I'll show you momentarily kind of how she explains it. The fourth page is, again, more of the fabric requirements. So the third page is the imperial pattern information. So the fabric requirements and everything and what notions you'll need. And then the second one is the metric, which the metric is for centimeters. So let me show you. These are the different pattern options that you can find on page 5 of the pattern. The one that I will be doing is the first option here, is the regular length tiered skirt option. I am also doing long sleeves, so it will look like this one, except it's gonna have long sleeves. And these are all the other options that you can choose from as well to help you not be confused. The sixth page, it will tell you all about the body measurements, so how to tell what the measurements is for the waist, hips, and the height. And then you can kind of write that down to figure out what exactly, what the right size is for your child. It also includes the size charts on the page 7 in inches and centimeters. I'm from the US, so we mainly use inches. So that was the one that's most helpful for me. The next page on page 8 includes information about custom fitting. So if a child is between two sizes, how to kind of make adjustments to that to make it fit their measurements. So that's kind of what that page includes and kind of explains how you can adjust the measurements. Page 9 is how you print up the pattern. So how you print out the layout. So you can kind of see here, this is what the layout looks like. So you attach page 1 to 2, tape it together, and so on and so forth. Make sure all the lines line up, and then cut out the pattern that way. The 10th page is the print guide, so it lets you know what pages are for the printing out the pattern. It also recommends that you print check the square. Every pattern always has like a test square, so whenever you print out the pattern, always make sure that it measures what that square should be. So if it's a 1-inch square, make sure your ruler is showing that it measures to be a 1-inch square. And then now the next part is for cutting charts. So this is the additional stuff you will have to cut out on top of all the pattern pieces. So on page 11, it includes the cutting charts for the simple skirt with regular or mini lengths. Like I said, I will be doing I will not be doing a simple skirt, so page 11 doesn't apply for this scenario. But again, if you buy the pattern, you can kind of see that one page and it'll show you kind of all the differences between the different options. So now page 12 is what will be most helpful for me. It is the cutting charts for the tiered skirt with regular mini lengths. Again, I will be doing a long sleeve tiered skirt with regular length. So it's just essentially a regular dress length. So it's also saying to note that 2 pieces of the skirt will be sewn together to form the top tier, and 4 will be sewn together to form the bottom tier. Now for the tiered skirt, you're going to want to cut out 6 pieces. Make sure you have the length and the width correct, but if you watch this video, you'll kind of learn how to do that. And then you also have to cut out a placket. So again, it has it in inches and in centimeters. It'll also let you know the cutting charts for the elastic as well, or you can just use these pattern pieces and cut out the elastic to fit those sizes. And then page 14 includes the cutting checklist, so it'll kind of make sure you know exactly what you need to cut out for the project and make sure that you don't miss anything. And then it gets into the pattern. So let us start to cut out our fabric. Let me show you the fabrics that I will be using today. So I am making a witch themed costume. I got this fabric from Your Fleece, Your Cotton on Etsy. It is quilting cotton fabric. It is not stretchy. I just think it's super fun and vibrant, and I think this will make a really cute costume for a child. And then for decor, I will be using this purple polka dot fabric for the ruffles, so kind of to add a little bit of an accent in a way. I was debating on doing the strap in this, but I think it would be too much, a little much too purple, so I'm just going to be doing the ruffles in this fabric. So that's what we got. So let me start prepping to cut out the fabric. I'm probably going to move the camera as well because I'm going to be kind of standing over here, kind of where you guys are. So I'll stop the video for now, and then we will start cutting out the fabric. All right, so I like to start off by cutting out the skirt fabric. So let me just unroll this. I'll include a link in the description again to the pattern as well as where I got this fabric. And I got my purple polka dot fabric from Joann's. Here we are. Okay, so hold on, it is folded over. I have to unfold it. So, drop your sewing machine oil to start. All right. So what I'm going to do, or what I have here is my fabric. I have it, this is the folded over edge. And you want the grain line to be going top to bottom here. So I'm going to place my fabric down on my cutting board. And I like to make sure that this folded edge is nice and even. Once that is the case, I'm going to grab a long ruler and my cutter here, rotary cutter. And let me move my pattern. Then I'm going to make sure it is nice and straight. So I'm just going to cut here, make it all straight. Again, I'm lining it up, making sure that this edge is perfectly even and making sure that this is even as well. So I'm just going to give that a cut. Oh, I cut it incorrectly, so kind of went in at an angle there. It was not supposed to. Making it nice and even. There you go. Also going to be adding some fabric weights just so this does not fall down. All right, now this is where you're going to refer to page, again, making sure it is all nice and even. So this is when you're going to refer to page 12 for cutting out your skirt. So what I like to do is I like to cut it out in strips. So you'll need 6 strips. Let me get my little ruler. So now, since I'm using this big mat here to kind of help me keep track, you're going to cut out 6 strips. Again, you want the folded over edge here, so this is the width, this is the length. So you want your width to be smaller. So the grain line should be going up this way, because as you can see, for the pattern here, the dress, you want it to be long. So the long bottom here is going to have 4 of these long strips, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to cut it off based off of the pattern. And for this size, again, I'm doing size 2, is it's saying I need to cut it 6 3/4. So here's one strip that I have. I'm just going to throw it on my chair for now and continue to cut out the rest of the strips. So my ruler here is actually 6 inches wide, so I just need to make it, let's see, 1, 2, 3, right? Yes. So just keep cutting out all these strips until you're done with them. So again, you want to cut out 6 of these strips. So for now, we're done with our main fabric. We just need to trim down all of the skirt pieces to make it the exact size that we need. So I'll put this fabric over to the side, grab all of these, and just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, perfect. So I'll put these other 5 to the side for now. Need a bigger cutting table, that's for sure. Refer to your pattern piece and it will tell you how wide the fabric is that you need. So make it all nice and even. You will not need the entire length of the strip, you just need a portion of it. So keeping it all lined up. Cut off this edge here. And I will need it to be 28 3/4. So move it all the way to here. Keep it all straight. And again, 28 3/4. Keep it straight and cut it. And then we can use this scrap fabric for when we cut out the rest of our pieces, because we can definitely get more out of it. So then I'll just fold this up. One piece is prepped. And you'll do the same exact thing for all of the other pieces. All right, now that we're done cutting out all of our skirt pieces, let us go back to sitting down and I'll show you how to cut out the rest of the pattern pieces. All right, now before we get to the other pattern pieces, you will also need to cut out a placket, which the placket size is actually the same for all of the different sizes. So I'm just gonna get my ruler out and cut that right now. And you want to cut it kind of the same way that you did before. So you want it to be side to side rather than up and down, if that makes any sense. So you cut that out real quick. right, so that is that one that's all cut out. So I'm going to place that with my skirt pieces and kind of put that to the side. All right, so grab your other pattern pieces. I usually like to cut out the smaller ones first just because we have some of this scrap fabric that we can put to use. All right. So I will start, I'm not going to be cutting out the bodices because I'm using different fabric. So I'm going to be taking out my front bodice piece and my back bodice piece. Now for this front bodice piece, you will need to cut 2 on the fold. So here's the fold here. So you're gonna have to fold over your fabric and then make sure the fabric or the folded part that says it's supposed to be folded is on the folded edge. So you'll need to cut out 1 for the lining and 1 for the main. And it's saying the grain line is going up and down, which is it's just perfect for other fabric because it fits it perfectly. Versus the straps, where it is saying the grain line is going up and down, but as you can see, the fabric is way too small to fit that. So that's why we're not cutting out this piece just yet. So I'm going to show you how to cut out the front bodice piece. The back bodice piece is for 2 of the main fabric and 2 for the lining. And it says to cut out 2 mirror image sets. So what you would do is cut out 2 pieces of the fabric with the paper laying down like this. Then you would flip it and cut out the pattern pieces just like that. So you would have the fabric right side up and you would just kind of flip the paper back and forth. So you want it 2 being facing regular, 2 this way, because mirrored image is that you're basically kind of flipping the image, if that makes any sense. So that is why this grain line is super important to help you figure out where the fabric is going to go. And you want to make sure it's all going in the same direction. For directional print, this is super important. If it's not directional, meaning that there's no, like, you can't tell what's up and down, then you don't have to worry about any of this. So I'm going to cut out, probably do my front bodice piece first. Again, that is the one with the folded edge here. I'm going to use my scrap pieces. Put everything to the side for now, except the front bodice piece. Now you can always use this fabric again for another fabric, but I don't have enough to be able to do anything with this, so I'm just gonna toss that one to the side. So here's my scrap piece. So now what I'm gonna do is fold it in half, create a nice folded edge. Now you're gonna wanna grab your front bodice piece and put the folded edge here. So I'm just gonna put, here's the edge that should be folded. Gonna put that right on the folded edge. I'm gonna grab some of my fabric weights. Probably only a few, just because it's a small piece. And now you're gonna start cutting the fabric. And since we have these weights, you can kind of pick it up and move it around to where you need it to go. And I'm going to move it so I can accurately cut this curved edge. And that is how you cut on the fold. So here's one of our front pieces. If you're doing a lining and the main fabric different, this is where you would want to cut out 1 for the main and 1 for the lining. So for example, if my polka dot fabric was going to be the lining, I would cut out 1 with this fabric and 1 with the polka dot. So, but like I said, I'm doing the lining and the main fabric in the same thing. So you have one of those cut out, and now I'm going to cut out another one for the lining portion. So again, putting it on the fold, placing down your fabric weights, grab your rotary cutter and start cutting. This is why I always keep my scrap fabric, because it could come in handy, especially in a time like this. And you're gonna pick it up, move it around. All right, so unfold it. And I always like to keep my pieces close together. So I'm gonna keep my front bodice pattern piece with this just to make sure I remember what exactly that piece is supposed to be for. So that's how you do that. Let's see, what else can we cut out here? The bodice ruffles I'm doing in a different color, so I think we'll have to start cutting out the back bodice pieces. So as you do this, you'll slowly whittle away at your pattern pieces. Let me see if I can get this out of it. Yes, perfect. So for this, as you can see on this pattern piece, it does not say cut on the fold, so you don't have to like cut it on the fold. So you will have to cut it out exactly like this 2 times. So what I'm doing is I fold it over my fabric, because one will be the mirrored version, so one will be like this and one will be like this. So that's kind of why I'm doing it this way. And based on the strip that I cut out, I have enough fabric to be able to do this. But if you're ever unsure, make sure, as you can see here, I have some white fabric here. You don't want to cut that out at all. So that's why I folded it over to make sure that I had enough of the actual fabric that I needed, which I do. So now I'm just going to cut around this. Again, you do not have to cut, you do not cut on the fold for the back bodice piece. And if you're doing the lining and the main fabric in a different color, you would do 1 mirrored and 1 regular with the main fabric, and do the same thing with the lining. Alright, so now as you can see, you flip this over and now one is mirrored. So this is the regular one and this is the mirrored image. So that's how you can do it that way. Save yourself some fabric and all that jazz. So these 2 are good to go, and we just need 1 more regular and 1 more mirrored image. Which I don't know if I'll have enough for these fabrics, but we will see. This should be okay. So as you saw when I tried to fold over this, I folded it over. Well, I guess I could get away with it. But let's say if I didn't have enough fabric and I would have been cutting into this like salvaged edge, I guess, then I would have had to choose a different fabric, but I should have enough for this design. I'm just going to place those 2 down and finish cutting out the back bodice. Because I did not show you in the beginning, but the bodice is actually open in the back, and I will be adding plastic snaps to that to kind of close it all up. So this worked out great. So again, you'll need 4 pieces for the back, 2 mirrored and 2 not mirrored. So here you go. There you can see. This will be the part where the snaps will be, so that's why it's kind of mirrored like that. So the back is all good to go now. So I'll grab my 4 pieces, put them all together, put them in my pile of done items. So next, let me throw away all of my scraps here. Have my trash can behind me here as well. So I'm gonna finish cutting out this orange witch fabric first, and then we can finish cutting out the ruffles. So let me make sure I have the right way. Yes, this is the correct way. So I'm able to tell which way is correct because as you can see, this is the top of the back, this is the bottom. So I want to make sure some of these green witch hats are facing down, which one is right here. So that's kind of how I can tell that I have it the right way. So I'll put that back. I'm gonna cut out my sleeves first, get that done, since they're big and bulky. Get out everything out of the way because I'm gonna need the space. Grab my other fabric weights. Okay. I don't have a pen either, so let me get one that's right over here. And I'll cut this out. All right, now you're gonna cut out your sleeves. So I like to optimize my fabric to the best that I can. So I'm gonna put it this way because you're gonna want the grain line to be going up and down. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you have a nice long piece. Oh my gosh, all this fabric all over the place. So you want to make sure there's a nice long piece for you to cut out. Let me get rid of my rulers here. Now you're going to want to fold over this fabric because as you can see on this pattern pieces, it has those two arrows again that says cut on the fold. So we'll want to place this paper down, and then this is the folded edge that we want. And here is the grain line. So the grain line basically means that this is the top, this is the bottom. So it tells you if it was this way or that way, you know, then you would have to like make it go like this. But since it's saying up and down, that means that that's the way you want your fabric to go. So gonna fold it over the edge. Make it nice and flat. Put your piece down, see if you don't need that much fabric, which I do not. So I'm gonna fold it in a little bit more. I think this will be adorable. Maybe I'll film the second part tomorrow. All right, so then that's fine. So again, this is the folded edge here. So I'm gonna place the folded edge on the edge that we obviously just folded. So this is the top, this is the bottom. So the top has that curve to it for the shoulder seam. And then this is for the arms, which I know seems pretty wide, but when we do the pattern, I'll show you exactly why it's more wider towards the bottom. So you'll need to cut out two of the main fabrics with this. So I'm gonna get my trusty old fabric weights, place them all over. And now you're gonna cut around all of this fabric. Again, make sure it's on the folded edge. You would be in trouble if you did not fold over this edge. So I'm just gonna cut this out. That was not a good cutting job. Gonna go around this curve here. Now that we cut that out, pick this up, move it around, and then cut out this curve for the shoulder. so here it is what it looks like unfolded. So when you sew up the fabric, you'll put it right sides together and it'll start to look like an actual arm. Now, before you move on with this piece, you're gonna flip it over. And on your pattern pieces, there are these symbols here. You're gonna wanna make a mark where these notches are because you will be sewing eventually from this point to the opposite point on the other part of the sleeve. So what I'm gonna do, put it face down. Grab yourself a pen. I can kind of see right here where those markings are. And I'm gonna make a mark with my pen. I'm gonna flip it over. Do the same thing on the other side. So those markings are kind of a symbol for myself to be, okay, stop at this point, end at this point. So I'll show you a close-up of the markings that I made, and I placed them on the wrong sides of my fabric. So there is one right here, and there's one right here. So now I'm just gonna fold these back up. And now you're gonna cut out the second sleeve. Place that over there. Grab your fabric. Cut out the second sleeve. And sometimes I can get away with getting my strap fabric with the remaining of this, so that's why I always try to fold it over only as much as I need. So make it all nice and straight. This looks great. Actually, take a little bit less out of that. You don't want it to be ruffled at all. Fold it over even a bit more. And now we should be okay. Yes. So again, the curved edge here is for the top of the shoulder seam and the bottom edge is here. You can always check yourself with that grain line symbol that we talked about. So place all of your fabric weights down. And cut out your last sleeve. So obviously you only need 2 for this project. Unless you have 3 arms or something like that. All right, move it so then I can cut out this curved edge here. Follow along that curve. It's completely fine if you accidentally cut into your paper. Just make sure you didn't cut out too much because you don't want to mess up your seam allowances. So again, we're gonna do the same exact thing. Open it up, wrong side up. Place your pattern piece down. Align up the edges. I usually bring down my paper a little bit, that way I have enough room to mark where I need to mark. So take your pen out, make a little notch. Do the same thing for the other side. Make sure your line isn't too long because you would want it to be hidden in your seam allowance. So then fold this over. And your sleeves are now cut out as well. Then I'm going to place these in my done pile. So just place that right there. All right, now lastly for this fabric, we are going to be cutting out our straps. So as you can see for our strap piece, you want the grain line to be going up and down, so the top up here, bottom down here. That's why this piece is usually, I try to save as much as I can so I can cut out my straps. And you will need to cut out 2 straps in the main fabric. So fold it over, Again, there's no folded edge for this pattern piece. Put some weights down and start cutting out these. In our next part, I will also discuss how you finish prepping all of your pieces, because some of them will require some sort of stabilizer, especially, well, pretty much mainly for the straps, for the either buttonhole area or for the plastic snaps, which I will be using. All right, so there are your snaps, or your straps all cut out. Place that to the side. And now all you really need to cut out is your bodice ruffles, which mine is over there. I'm going to put my main fabric there. Grab my purple polka dot fabric. I'll unroll it from the board. And now I'm facing it wrong side up, folding it over. And the grain line for both of these is top up here, bottom down here, so it will not require too much fabric. Now for the back bodice ruffle, you will be cutting out two. Again, the ruffles are completely optional. I just think it makes a really cute accent. So cut out these. All right, now our back bodice ruffles are all cut out. Place it to the side. Now for the front ruffle, you only need one, so you don't have to worry about folding it over like that, but you do need to fold it over because it has that cut on the fold symbol. So anything that's pointing towards the middle, with these arrows that says cut on fold, that means you cut on the fold. So we need one of these. So I'm going to fold it over. Place down my pattern piece. So it says cut on the fold over here. So I'm going to place that folded edge over on the corner that it's folded. Place down my fabric weights and cut those out. All right, now you have your front bodice ruffle all cut out as well. So that is essentially how you cut out the fabric, and the last part that you will need to cut out is the elastic length. So again, the one that is longer is supposed to be for the upper arm elastic for short sleeve, and up at the top here, or the smaller one here, is for the long sleeves. So that's kind of how all that works. So next, make sure you cut out your elastic. Unfortunately, I don't have my elastic here now, but it's super easy. You just cut it out to the size that you need. So that is how you cut out your fabric. In the next video, we will be starting to sew our very complicated dress that you can see over in the corner there. So I'll kind of show you step by step how you sew it. But before we get into sewing, there are some pieces that you will need to add stabilizer for, just because they'll have a lot more wear and tear compared to the other parts of this dress. So we will do that in the beginning, and then we will get right into sewing, which part 2, the next video, we will be sewing the top. So from the top bodice to the sleeves, and that'll be that for that part of the video. And then our third part will be sewing up the bottom of the dress, the tiered part, as well as putting it all together. So I hope you guys are excited about this series. Leave a comment down below if there's any other patterns that you would love to see me try out. I love sewing, I love doing this, so this dress was a heck of a lot of fun to do. My first one took me about 5 hours to do it, and then my second one took me about 3 hours. So cut down a couple hours with that. So if you're feeling discouraged that these dresses take forever, well, that's because you might have been your first or couple times doing it, and then after you'll kind of get used to it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the video. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing, and also hit that bell notification as well to be notified of when my second part of my sew along will be. And I hope you guys are excited for this series because this is my first ever sew along. But yeah, that's why I'm doing it 3 parts, because this dress is fairly complicated. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Also, please give it a thumbs up on your way out, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.